Hey guys, here I am with the 17. Part Black Chess Criminal Organization. Yeah, under the last video, 2 or 3 people commented like, yeah, what does this have to do with a motorcycle club? I think some people here are misunderstanding a bit. What does a ninja gang have to do with a motorcycle club? Guys, for us it was very, very little about riding motorcycles. Sorry if I'm shattering some illusions for some of you here, but in this series, it's not going to be about us sitting in the garage, working on bikes, talking about live to ride, live free, ride free, jumping around fire barrels, and then, I don't know, listening to rock music and talking about Harley Davidson or whatever. That's not what it's about. Instead, the things that happen here happen as a criminal organization, just like we came together under the guise of a motorcycle club. But riding motorcycles was the least important thing, guys. And everything that happens comes from the structures from a motorcycle club, from a criminal motorcycle club. And this ninja gang was actually a part of the club. Many people imagine that the whole club is criminal, and I think we need to clear that up here as well. You can't just say whether we're talking about the Hells Angels, Bandidos, Grimium, or anyone else. They're not all criminals. They're not all bad. There are criminals among them. There are all kinds of people among them. And that's why only a part of them is ever involved in a certain action. Of course, we also come back to the things we did as a club, the things we decided as a club, and so on. But just to make that clear, this was the normal club life that I dealt with for years. The guys, the ninja gang, I don't know. It was just, yeah, police crapped that call, met at the gas station, and we didn't have any more information. Okay, checked with the police, what's going on, huge effort, and we then decided, okay, we'll go to Blijkerweg. It's no secret. I don't feel like starting from the beginning. Blijkerweg, that's where the red light apartments were, and that's where Toman lived too, and someone else from the club lived there as well. And there were, I think, 11 apartments in total, and then we drove there. It was slowly getting light, and we knew, crap, okay, we have to somehow try to clean the apartment now. Who knows what they have? I have to say that no matter how easygoing Toman was with me and really such a nice, cool guy that I liked hanging out with, he was also very scatterbrained. Even if he answered a question and confirmed how something worked, you had to follow up 3 more times to verify if it was really like that. There was always a lot of yeah being said. I also experienced that during the camaraderie recruitment series and with the business involving hate, that he would forget things, not answer letters and so on. Yeah, I already had a huge drama with that. Okay, now we're standing in this hallway, standing in front of the door, unlocking the door, and then we only had, I don't even know if we had a flashlight or something like that, or if there were already lights on the phone. I don't know, I can't say. But in any case, we had to be as careful as possible. We didn't want to wake up the people in the building, so they wouldn't call the police and say, at 4 in the morning, there are 4 guys dressed in black going into some apartment. Yeah, there were also women working there from the red light district, and if they saw 4 guys sneaking around like that without a car, parked a bit further away, sneaking around the house like secret agents and then going inside, I don't know, that would make some people pretty uneasy. Knowing time was against us, we went directly into that place. I searched the kitchen too, and now you might ask, okay, why are you searching the place? It was clear we had to clear this place, as there could be weapons or something else here. And I go into the kitchen and stand there with the sergeant at the time, and then I find debit cards in the kitchen. I find debit cards. And then I look at the debit card with the name on it, and it has the name of the guy who came to me and asked if I knew who broke into his place. Remember, in the previous episodes, I told him, well, I'll ask around and see who broke into your place and so on. But then it turned out it was actually the guys from our group who broke into his place, the one they knew. And that's something, breaking in itself is already messed up. You know how I feel about crime these days and so on. But breaking into the place of someone you know, someone you run into from time to time, and you're nice and cool to him, you even invite him to your parties from the motorcycle club and so on. And then you break into his place, and in his drawer, where he keeps his 3 knives, forks, and half a spoon, there are his debit cards with his first and last name on them. I nearly fell over backwards. What the heck am I supposed to do with these cards now? And don't think it's always that easy, like I always say, to just get rid of things so quickly. It's not like that, yeah. You're under time pressure. And if you say, sure, just open the window and throw it out, don't think that during real operations the police won't search the property, walk around, shine a light on the garage and see what's lying around and so on. Yeah. And then people say, or maybe just throw it in the toilet, flush everything down the toilet. Anyone who's ever tried to flush something made of plastic or whatever down the toilet knows it just swirls around or whatever, and then people quickly say to burn it, but that definitely makes you panic at first. Just like in the kitchen, and it wasn't just debit cards, they even took letters, and then from other burglaries, he still had stuff lying around. I was really floored. I didn't even know what to say. I thought, oh my goodness, does it have to be like this? Is this really it now? That I have to deal with this and all this crap? And we knew the police would show up here somehow. And then they'll be linked to several break-ins, a whole series, and then we know they'll get busted. Even if you're upset with your club brother now, he remains your brother and club brother in that situation. You clarify the situation, but I already considered that. When he comes to the club meeting, I'm really going to give him a piece of my mind. That's not how it works. And then, of course, where everyone also was very, very sensitive, and I was right at the front too. We don't lie to each other as brothers. You know, in our club meetings, a brother never lies to another brother. Oh, wow, but all the lies and betrayals we've done to each other and so on, that's really unbelievable. And it's not like I'm pointing fingers at the others. I'm right up there at the front myself. Damn, did we do those things? Then you're standing there in the kitchen, in the semi-darkness, and you see outside as it slowly starts to dawn. And you're standing there, quickly cutting up the debit cards in the kitchen and tearing up the documents, throwing them into the toilet, always putting toilet paper on top, flushing everything down and flushing again so it all goes away. And then someone comes in, guys, this isn't made up, okay? And then someone comes in and says, I found a gun. I found a gun in the place, somewhere in the living room. Thomas had a gun lying around. I didn't even know what to say. First of all, I didn't know he had one. Actually, we knew, we were pretty well informed about who was armed with what. And basically, we did it so that we armed the club. Not every individual was armed. But from some break-in or somewhere, Toman must have gotten this weapon. It was immediately clear this isn't a blank gun. It was still loaded. I don't remember what kind it was. Yeah, I don't even know what kind of gun it was. It wasn't a revolver, but I'm not really familiar with that stuff. And then there we are, the 4 of us standing in that place with the gun. Yeah, and now what? So, what happens? We're standing in that apartment and suddenly cars pull up outside. I thought, shit, the people, we look out the window and say, and then it's the cops. Then suddenly 2 or 3 unmarked police cars pull up, and in tow they've got fully geared up, I don't know, either an MEK Spezialeinsatzkommando or Evidence Collection and Arrest Unit, Beweissicherungs- und Festnahmeeinheit, I don't know, I always mix up the name, but a Beweissicherungs- und Festnahmeeinheit, and they're standing at the door. They slowly get out of the cars, and we're standing in the dark in this place with the gun somewhere in the apartment, maybe some other evidence too. I can tell you guys, your pulse really starts racing in a moment like that. Anyone claiming to remain calm while everyone else panics, trying to figure out what to do with the gun, you can't just flush it or toss it out the window, is not being truthful. We couldn't make a big deal out of it because the house was accessible from both sides, and the back of the house, that was the real problem. To get to that pale path, you had to drive past the police station by car. That was the only way to get there. There was also a footpath to get there, but to get there by car, you had to drive past the police station, the main police station in Wismar. And from the back of the apartment buildings, you could look over to the police station, and the police station could also look over to the house. That means the back side already felt burned, even if they didn't have it on their radar, that they could see and monitor from there, but you just don't know, yeah? And the front side was now blocked as well. Yeah, so we're in the house now, where to quickly take this gun. I know people will come here and write comments below, yeah, feel free to comment and say, yeah, where should I quickly take this gun now? And you know you have about maybe 30 seconds now. Yeah, 30 seconds. 1 minute, that's less time than what I'm talking here right now. And yeah, how quickly you can ring somewhere else under the stairs and hand someone the weapon and so on. None of that was possible. Then we, treated ourselves to a round of pom-poms. And so we're standing there in the place, and we quickly had a discussion and said, look, the officers who were previously responsible for us were there. Some of whom were responsible for us in state security and organized crime and so on. And now I'm going to tell you where the police also failed. That has to be said. And this story is not made up. It happened exactly like this, guys. Then we said, yes, screw it. We have to do it somehow. Boldness wins. Yeah, screw it. We're here by chance. We were at the red light apartments. The cops know that. They know it. Let's not make a big deal out of it. We'll just go up to them now. We're not going to just sit here in this place with a gun, acting like we don't know anything, wiping off fingerprints and pretending, oh, no idea. Or put them in the hallway and say, no idea, we just found them here too. It seems like it will lead to trouble, headaches, more searches, and things like that. And our sergeant back then didn't have any prior convictions at that time. And then he said, listen, I'll take the gun. Who knows, they're looking for Toman and the other guy. It was clear to us too, being inside, that Toman wasn't there. Not drunk, tipsy, sleeping, or anything. His girl wasn't there. It was clear to us that the police were at the door, searching and wanting to do a normal house search at Toman's place. And if we hurry now, we can get out of the apartment quickly, and they won't even know that we were in this apartment. And let's see, we got out. Our Sergeant Carlos tucked his gun into the front of his pants, and then we went out into the hallway. And then outside, we already saw the police coming towards us, and I opened the door and say, hey, and walk out, and everyone was like, and the uniformed officers, of course, they were really startled, all dressed up in their gear and everything. And I don't know, it was like a kind of shock paralysis. They just weren't prepared for it, I think. I don't want to say that they were bad at their job, but they just weren't prepared for that. They were caught off guard when, while quietly entering an apartment around 4:30 or 5 anti-meridium, 4 guys approached them asking, hey, what's up? Just a quick note. If you want to support us, my book is out. Hate Breeds Violence, Games, Bestsellers, the brand behind the product, King Among the Kongs. Check it out. There are lots of links under the video on how you can support our work in de-radicalization and anti-violence, both online and in schools. So lots of ways, thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, all of that helps. Thank you so much, and ahoy, the video continues. And then I saw the guys from the state criminal police office and just brazenly walked right up to them. I went over to the officers I knew from previous operations, house searches, right-wing extremism, and so on, so I knew them from that. I just brazenly walked up to them, held out my hand and said, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah, so why are you here? I said, we were here at the red light parties. There was some kind of incident, so we went over there. We thought maybe some John was freaking out. And the police, and then he grabs me. Then he grabs me, and the others get grabbed by those Beweissicherungs- und Festnahmeeinheit guys. And I say, don't touch me, man. What's going on? What's going on? Am I under arrest or something? Is this about me, or who are you looking for? Yeah, look, we have a search warrant here for the apartment of Tom and so-and-so. I was surprised and asked why they had a search warrant for that person. What does that have to do with us now? And so on. They were surprised. Of course, they sensed that something wasn't right here. But I just talked to them normally. Then we stood there and talked with them and said, yeah, look, you guys need to step aside now. Get out of here. This has nothing to do with you. Just stand back there for a bit and so on. At first, it was just non-stop talking, completely absorbed in conversation. And why? And what did they do? Did something happen? Is he okay? And so on. Where is he? And so on. Yeah, you'll be informed later. And then we stepped aside, and then this Beweissicherungs- und Festnahmeeinheit or whatever it was went into the apartment, secured the place, and we were standing outside. Next to me stood Carlos with a loaded gun in his waistband. We weren't searched. Suddenly we weren't searched. How can you, considering your background of 12 years in right-wing extremism and current involvement in a criminal motorcycle club, convince someone to be so careless? As a former extremist, how can you persuade others to act recklessly, especially when it could benefit law enforcement? But it's simple. You always have to remember, when you talk about this, there are people working there too who might think, okay, maybe it really is just a coincidence. Here are the red light apartments. How are they supposed to know that Toman has already been arrested there or anything like that? They were likely at the station later, sitting with coffee when someone, possibly he, said something. Detective Inspector Wolf to Criminal Detective Inspector Cat. What, Why were they in Roderlich apartments? Was there something? Did you notice anything? Did you see any of the women? No? Yeah, did we actually search them? No, damn. Then stuff like that gets swept under the rug real quick if you and your team aren't thorough. When you're at the police, they talk among themselves and say, well, someone really messed up there. We were standing there afterwards, still chatting. Then they didn't do a search. I even went over and talked to them some more. And then they said, okay, what's going on? Yeah, Mr. Toman so-and-so, he's been temporarily arrested. They'll bring him before the magistrate later and so on. And I was like, okay, so what happened? And then some of them even make a bit of small talk, like they supposedly broke in here and there, got busted last night, got taken in and so on. And then they really told me about it. I was surprised to hear the ninja gang got busted for break-ins. That doesn't sound like them at all, and they didn't even know it was the ninja gang. The apartment search yielded nothing, but they seized the computer and laptop. However, we had already cleared out everything else. Carlos was already starting to sweat a little because I kept talking and talking to the cops. But this was my moment to find out what was going on. I also wanted to get out of there quickly. Yeah, just leave. But I also wanted to find out what was happening, and they actually told me. And then they said, yeah, there was supposed to have been a break-in over there. And then guys, you can't make this up. You really can't make this up. That after they pulled off the break-in at the hunter's place or the gun collectors, and then they transported the safe to their garage, which they had rented, or their garages. And it was like 1 a.m. or something, and they couldn't wait until the next day to see how awesome their loot was. And then at 1 or 1:30 in the morning, they started cutting into the safe with a gas-powered angle grinder. When I hear that now, I get ringing in my ears. This garage complex was just right in the middle of a residential area, or at least very, very close to one. And then they start working there at night with a gas-powered angle grinder. Of course, some resident called or had called, and then a patrol car went there. And when they go there, they drive a patrol, but not always with sirens or anything like that. Sometimes they drive in stealth mode, like a submarine. They dim their lights, switch off blue lights, and cruise slowly in their diesel car. Then around the area and drive through the complex. And then, of course, from 50, 60, 70 meters away, they already hear a cutting machine, park their car, and then they go to this garage and you see 3 or 4 ninjas there working on a safe with a gas-powered cutter at 1:30 in the morning. They open the gate and look inside. I just about drop an egg out of my pants. I just about drop an egg out of my pants when you hear something like that. I don't even know what was going through my mind, somewhere between amusement and anger. I'll smack you upside the head and incredulous, incredulous. To be stunned that I was prepared for a lot of stupidity, but not to the power of 3. It was definitely time to get out of there. It was definitely time to get out of there. We don't need to deal with that here right now. We have to get rid of this gun. Shit, okay. Blah, blah, get out. Okay, yeah, no idea. We'll send a lawyer over and so on. Then the machinery gets going. And then we got back in the car, and with the damn gun, we drove somewhere and left it with someone, somewhere. We left the gun in one of the other garages or apartments for the time being. Everyone in the car was in shock about what happened here, that they had the gun, the debit cards, that they broke in at night. A huge wave of anger comes over you. Okay, first of all, everyone calm down. The situation is under control. There's nothing more we can do. They'll go before the magistrate first, and everyone else can go home for now. I drove home sometime around 6 or 7 in the morning. I got home, but I couldn't get any sleep because I had so much adrenaline in my body and anger and so on at my own people. I get home, have a coffee with my girlfriend at the time, and then I told her a bit about what happened. She was shocked too. And there was no way I could rest. Okay, we still have to take care of the guys now. Regardless of their behavior or mistakes, you must still take care of the guys. At some point, a message went around saying, okay, we'll meet at such and such parking lot at 10 o'clock, and then we have to discuss what we're going to do. Beforehand, from home, I took care of things like, okay, which members of the ninja gang are at the station, which of them need a lawyer who is taking care of the women, who is going there to talk to them, and so on. The lawyers, that wasn't really a problem. That's just their business. They go there and say, yeah, I'm here. I'm representing so-and-so. That's my client here. There's a signature, blah, 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 that I'm here as representation, blah, like that. A much more exhausting thing was all the talking with the different girls from the 3 ninjas. That always wore me out. Women too, sometimes, I know this often gets overlooked, but many women also pose a problem, even in crime, in right-wing extremism or extremism in general, because they can really egg things on, they can really spread poison, as harsh as that sounds. It's not always just the men, and here there were so many different women involved. Yeah, so here there was a full member in the ninja gang and 2 prospects, and then we split up and you meet up with the women. Thomas's wife experienced cognitive decline earlier than expected, making it difficult for her to process and understand things. And I said, no, I can't go there. Someone else has to do that, someone who can explain it and so on. And someone else took over for the other prospect. I went to him, to the O point. I need to check my legend, but the O point isn't listed there. Did I mention it before? And then I went to his girl. And she was so unpleasant that she was just as unpleasant as I was as a person at that time. So they also had this on and off relationship and were always looking for trouble. And the O point eventually became known as a big liar. And now all of that has come out. I meet up with his girl and then I say, the O point has been arrested. Yeah, how are you all taking care of everything around him and so on? And I say, yeah, we're handling all of that. And now we definitely have to go to the family's house first, inform the parents as well, and then we drove to the parents' house. He had a younger sister, and the parents were also still relatively young. They knew us too and so on. And there I am sitting with the parents and I say, what a mess. Then we talk about ODOT, and then a lot of lies came out during this meeting. ODOT, for example, was also one of those for whom it was necessary to get a motorcycle license with us as a prospect. without a motorcycle license and without a motorcycle, there is no full membership. We enforced that as a motorcycle club. Then somehow, during this arrest, we got onto the topic of motorcycle licenses and so on. Then his parents said to me, he doesn't have a motorcycle license, having quit halfway through the process, stating he doesn't care about getting one. I was sitting with him and I toasted with him. He once told me he passed his motorcycle license exam. Of course, I'm not going to let him show me that damn license. If someone wants to join our club and comes to me and says, hey, I've been in driving school for 3 months and always say I can't come to the club meeting. I can't make it Tuesday evening due to a mandatory driving lesson, which includes highway and night driving. He eventually shares that he passed the theory test. You congratulate him, saying he just needs to complete the practical part now. And then at some point he came to our yard, and back then my vice president, the sergeant, was still standing there. He showed up and said he passed his driving test. We were like, awesome, let's celebrate in New Orleans. We said, come on, let's go drink some cocktails, have a nice one for your new license. He didn't have a license. And everything in life was a construction site. Financially, the apartment, everything came out of that. Yeah, we also have so much trouble with ODOT, I mean our son, because he doesn't pay for the apartment, and there are still debts left for the dog. And then the girl who was with him said, no, I don't want to take the dog. So I took in his bull terrier back then because he can't get his life together, and now he's being brought before the magistrate. Then I called my girlfriend at the time and said, you wouldn't believe what's going on here. Someone's whole web of lies is falling apart. And the dog and his girlfriend, she also had a bull terrier, but of course that wasn't enough, because both of them in this toxic, broken, crazy, stupid relationship both needed a bull terrier. The two bull terriers didn't get along. The girl asked what they should do with the bull terrier, but her parents said they were more hamster people than dog people. So, as a dog person, I found myself standing there with a bull terrier, so I decided to take him with me for the time being. Suna was thrilled when I finally brought the bull terrier home. As an only child, Suna disliked other. She thought she was King Kong herself. I don't know where she got that idea from. I don't want to make assumptions, but I didn't keep the bull terrier. We later, where did we place him? I don't know. I don't even remember anymore. I really don't anyway. That's how work was, guys. You shouldn't forget, all of this happened during the week. It's not like a Saturday club, 16 to 18 o'clock, and then party. It was part of my life, just doing that, watching they mess things up. Cops, house searches, now lawyers again. I have to go to the parents and talk. Then this whole web of lies falls apart, and you wouldn't believe how many people in crime or extremism build up stories of lies about their whole lives, what they have, what they do, what they can do, how they supposedly live, and then you get there and they can't even manage to pay their rent, or their electricity gets cut off, gas gets cut off. I've seen so much, guys, you can't even imagine. Multiple problems, and still nothing was sorted out. But now I was like, I just said right away, screw it. That guy, ODOT, no matter what, he's out of the club, he's out. So many lies that came out, I said, screw it, but now we have to proceed tactically, because now, while he's sitting at the police station to also deliver the message to him that he's being kicked out, that's something that carries a lot of risks. And so that's what we did, and we said, okay, first we need to call an emergency club meeting and see what we do now, how we get out of this mess, and how things will continue from here. That's what we did. I'll tell you how things went on in the next part, guys. As always, I bid you ahoy from the coast and thank all supporters of this project.